Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming. And welcome to our session on strategies for small libraries working in Folio. My name is Jamie Jasanis. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm the Technical Services Librarian at Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. We are a member of the Fenway Library Organization, and we went live in Folio in 2024. But that was my second migration. My first migration was with Wellesley College. And I've worked in Folio for about 4 years now, and I'm also the organizer of the Small Libraries Group. And I'll pass it over to Gus to introduce himself.
So I'm Augusto Consing. I'm the Systems and Web Applications Librarian at Simmons University, and we were an early adopter of Folio. We adopted it in 2020, and we are also a member of the Fenway Library Organization. So back to you, Jamie.
All right, to start off, I'd like to point out some strengths and challenges in general for small libraries. So we tend to be very creative, flexible problem solvers, highly collaborative and community driven. And that's tied in with the kinds of challenges that we face. So we tend to have fewer resources, especially in time and technical personnel. For example, many small libraries don't have a dedicated developer or IT staff. We also have broader responsibilities and wear more hats. So that usually means we have less bandwidth to develop specialized skills. And we also face some pressure to keep up with larger libraries, not just with wanting to provide the best services possible, but also, keeping up with the Folio upgrade schedule. Um, so over the last 4 years, I've kind of been following these little philosophies. The first is perfect is the enemy of done. Community is a living encyclopedia, and don't invent the wheel, customize it. And that'll be reflected in today's topics. So I'll be talking about advocacy in the community for small libraries, reporting without MetaDB or LDP, and then later on, Gus will be talking about Simmons joining a consortium. All right, so starting off with advocacy in the Folio community. So I would guess if you asked anybody what's the best way to get involved with Folio, they would probably tell you to go to SIG meetings. And it is a very effective way to have your voice heard, is attending regularly. But it does require a consistent time commitment. Some SIGs meet up to 2 times a week, some just once a month, but over time, or cumulatively, that can become several hours a week, which is not very sustainable. But because Folio is a decentralized project, there are a lot of tools that allow for flexibility. Those being Slack, the Jira tickets, and the Small Libraries group. So if you can't go to every SIG meeting, what you can do is adapt the way you participate in the SIGs. So one of the things that I do is I have the SIG meetings in my calendar, but before I decide whether to go or not, I check the agendas ahead of time. Most, if not all of the SIGs will post in Slack like what the meeting is going to be about. And you can take a look at what discussion topics there are, whether a PO will be visiting, if there are any demos. And you can also add your issue as an agenda item. So if you want to go to a meeting and make sure that what you want to talk about is on the agenda. Another kind of asynchronous option is posting in the SIG Slack channels. So most of the regular attendees for SIG meetings tend to be very responsive and active in Slack. So if you have any questions or you want to describe what you're experiencing in Folio, somebody will most likely respond and pretty quickly. Um, something okay, something that takes a little less time is each SIG sends a monthly update to the product council, so you can go to the product council wiki page and see the updates there. And then something that was just talked about in the Folio roadmap session was the community prioritization process. So it sounds like that's going to be a repeating process. So there's still opportunity to participate in that when that comes up. Next, so for another asynchronous option, you can contribute to Jira tickets. So the Jira tickets are central to Folio development. That's what guides the development of features. And you can be pretty sure that once something is selected for development, that the SIGs, POs, and developers will see those tickets. And Jira allows users to add a comment to tickets. So you can go in, add a comment, describe what you're experiencing, what you expect, or how you expect Folio to work, and then also share some workarounds if you have them. And you can also look at other people's comments if you're struggling. You can also find who is assigned to the ticket and reach out directly if you need more information or have more specific questions. And finally, if you don't see a Jira ticket, there might not be one. So you can always write a ticket. I would suggest checking with the SIG first just to make sure there isn't one and avoid some duplication because that happens a lot. All right. Finally, I got to do my plug for the Small Libraries group. So as I said earlier, I'm the organizer of the group, and we meet on the third Fridays of the month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We talk about how Folio is working. We collaborate on some common issues and have demos and workshops. So, for example, we've had API demos, panorama demos, and coming up soon, we're going to have an LD Lite session. And we also have a Slack channel. So if you need that information again, you can go to that and also get the Zoom link. All right. Next up, I'll be talking about reporting as a library that doesn't have MetaDB or LDP. So as a small caveat, my library does have MetaDB, but previously when I was at Wellesley, there was a period where we didn't have access to those tools. So this information is kind of coming from my experience with that. So as you can see, there are lots and lots of options for reporting. MetaDB and LDP, as we all know, is probably the most robust out of all of them. But the rest are great for simpler reports if you don't need to go get data that's across apps or across tables. But what do you do when you need more data than that and you don't have MetaDB or LDP? So there's not really a very simple answer to that question. The Lists app is improving all the time with every release, but we still have to do that work in the meantime. So the way that I did that when I was at Wellesley was extracting data using those other reporting sources and joining them together, which you can do if there's a common unique field as a match point. So for example, you can match instances with holdings because the instance UUID or HRID is in both of those records. And then after that, if you wanted to, you could match the items with the holdings because the holdings IDs are in both of those record types. And then you'll end up with a big old spreadsheet that has all the items, holdings, and instances in one place. So some of the tools that I've used for joining data in that way is the lower barrier one was Power Query in Excel. That one is, I think, a little easier to start using. It has a user interface that's relatively simple compared to other options. It still takes a little time to learn, but definitely easier than others. So some more options would be using OpenRefine, Python, and I'm sure there's lots and lots more. Um, and then also, if those reporting sources that were on the last slide, if they're not giving you all the data that you need, you can use APIs and CQL to identify records and then download those full tables. And it's an open source project, so of course libraries are going to share the work they've done before. So you can always look around for shared API calls, queries, and scripts. All right, so as you can probably tell, there's some challenges with working like that in reporting. So even using something like Power Query, it does take time to learn that specialized skill. Um, and earlier I mentioned that it's difficult for people who have broader responsibilities to find time for things that are more specialized. It's also a lot more time and labor intensive than MetaDB, LDP, and SQL because those tools automatically do the kinds of things that you have to do manually with this. And it also can take a lot more processing power than an average work computer can handle. So one little tip is upgrade your RAM if you can. It's relatively inexpensive and it will help a lot. um, and then, of course, this opens a lot of opportunities for collaboration with others, with the small libraries group. So if you're a person who has these skills or has suggestions for options, reach out to me and we can have you come do a guest demo or a discussion at a small libraries group meeting. Pretty much anything, any of the tools that's listed there, we could use some help with. And also, I'm not an EBSCO library, but there are several EBSCO libraries in the small libraries group. So we can really use some help with Tableau, and that's what Panorama is based on. And now over to Gus for his section of the presentation.
Cool. Thank you, Jamie. So Simmons University's experience, it's an example of another option for a smaller academic library considering FOLIO, which is to join a consortium. Under the Carnegie classification used prior to 2025, Simmons is not a Research One university. Its library was a long-time user of Innovative Millennium, an ILS focused on supporting print resources, which was approaching its end of life. The library wanted to migrate to a state-of-the-art library services platform that had good e-resources management, but could not do so on its own. A premier proprietary LSP paid for under a license and subscription model is pretty expensive for any academic library that's not a Research One university member. Choosing an open source platform and engaging a vendor to provide hosting and support may actually be less costly. The Fenway Library Organization Consortium, FLOW for short, was in a parallel situation to Simmons, wishing to migrate from Ex Libris Voyager. Simmons was willing to test the waters on behalf of FLOW's other libraries, and the match was made. Next slide. So basically, joining the FLOW consortium made FOLIO affordable for Simmons. In addition, FLOW had staff with the skills necessary to migrate to FOLIO, and to work with index data to host and support it as a software and as a service kind of thing. Particularly, a dedicated project manager, Kelly Drake, and a software manager, Paul Hoffman. FLOW continues to have the staff necessary to make FOLIO work, including projects coordinator librarian Eliana Lima, who's here, uh, and systems librarian Alexis Dembe. And I should also mention Jen Wonka, who is also here. Uh, so FLOW has migrated all of its 12 full members to FOLIO. The FLOW office provides training to library staff on FOLIO, tracks the development of the FOLIO project on behalf of its libraries, and encourages its members to follow as well. Consortia and library staff share problems and positive experiences. And that's all for me. Back to you, Jamie.
All right. So that's pretty much it. Here's our contact information. I know we went through this pretty fast, so if anyone has any questions or would like a walkthrough or something, feel free to reach out. And I think we have, actually, let me check the time. Um, we have 1 minute, so I don't know. I don't think we have enough time for questions. But let me just see. Let me see if there's anything in the chat I can answer quickly. Okay. Looks like we're good. All right. Yes.
Question. Not, I'm the product owner for serials module and agreements and licenses. I'm also, I'd say, I have a lot of expertise with open refine. And if any of those topics you would like me to come to talk to the small libraries, think about any point, feel free to reach out to me, Owen Stevens, and I will pick up on the Laura.
All right. Great. Thank you so much. All right. I will pass it off to the next person. There's a next person, right?